What is up, guys? It's Burns back here again with another Supercoach video. This time it is the round 7 review, and god damn. I was expecting maybe a 10,000 rank change once we started getting to these weeks, but not in that direction. Not in that direction. We did score 2,077 points, meaning we went down 10,495 ranks to 59,960. We are slowly dropping back to where we started. That is painful. That is so painful. Like, I knew this wasn't a great week, but now look, because obviously the super coach isn't entertaining, gonna go quick story time instead. Look, just for these games this weekend, at the end, I was actually away. Went down the Rye with family, cousins, whatnot. Just had a bit of a weekend away. Chilled out, games night, drinking, things like that. Good fun. One of the things we actually did when we were there is my brother put on, I guess, old school music we used to listen to, but like old school K-pop. And that might sound funny to some people, but actually the way we stumbled upon K-pop, I find a quite funny story. I was probably 15 or so, walking home from school one day, and it's just one of those areas. You could say it's like in a rectangle. Usually you'd walk straight down and left if you want to follow the path, or you can walk diagonally across the long grass if you want. And I usually walked across the diagonal long grass, and I was doing that. And that was decently. It was not super long at this stage, but I remember it being a bit wet. And as I'm walking, I was like looking at the ground. I just see at my feet an iPod. I'm just like, oh, okay. So I picked that up, take it home, clean some of the grass out of the charging socket. Honestly, didn't expect it to charge, but it ended up charging, and that's where we discovered K-pop music, which I was like, whoa, crazy. So I ended up listening to like Shiny Up and Down, Lucifer when I was like reading Percy Jackson series back in the day, and yeah, that actually got us onto K-pop. And my brother had that music on, and I was like, man, this stuff is so nostalgic for me. Like, this is crazy. Like, I'm probably gonna do that after this video. Just go find all the old videos and make a playlist, because none of my playlists have any K-pop in it or anything like that. It was, something I used to listen to, I said, like 15 years ago or so. So yeah, it was nice, nostalgic. It was good fun. Even just rewatching the video clips, I was like, damn, this shit goes hard. So yeah, just I thought I'd give you some random story time, guys, because you know what, Supercoach ain't that entertaining for you right now. We'll jump into the team and see what's going wrong here. Honestly, guys, it's such a mess. In regards to last week's trades, what ended up happening is with McAuliffe not getting named to play, I had the option to side with one of these dead bench rookies in Caulfield or Pink, so that I would no longer have this dead bench. It means I would keep Stewart and I'd play some sort of rookie that was going to be probably very average tier. Um, Saying that, I'm pretty sure if I did that, I might have run into an awkward position where with Libba being the laid out as well, I might have still ended up fielding a donut. But I decided against it. At the end of the day, once McAuliffe was named out, I didn't want to side with a rookie to like a biggie or like another speculative rookie that then next week they just get dropped. And I've just sided with a rookie for 40 points that week, and that's it. So I decided to side with Stewart to Dacos, which, hey, may not be the greatest player, but there's a chance Stewart loses another 40 to 50k from here with that terrible break even. Dacos is on an upward swing. He's coming into Anzac Day. I expected a big game, and at the end of the day, it was 128 extra points rather than a donut. And we already saw how bad that score was. If I put out like a 1950, oh my goodness, that would have been embarrassing. And it's already embarrassing enough, honestly. So we ended up grabbing Dacos from Stewart, which I'm fine with, because I know Dacos is going to be a season-long keeper. Stewart's been a bit speculative, where I don't know if he's quite there in the top 10 range. Maybe he's going to be scraping around it. But saying that, I remember last year Stewart got knocked out, had the week off, came back and scored like a 180. So I'm a little bit scared of the bounce-back game from Stewart, where he's going to just come back and tear us up. But I'm happy to have Dacos in the team. The other trade we did is, we all know I was super big on Dawson. I wanted Dawson in, so I got Dawson in. I just did a sort of one up, one down to get him in, so I was very happy with that result. And then we ended up getting Hugo Garcia. I did have the ability to loop Cadman with the 53. I thought, no, I'm gonna give it a risk with the other rookies, and unfortunately lost like 13 points on Garcia. Saying that, Wilson was actually the one that I was considering benching over it, so I think I actually made 35 points in that way. And then the other player we all know I was hot on but didn't end up getting was actually Bailey Dale, who did go bananas this week. Now, I was interested in Dale, but with Stewart being out and me not having any way to field cover for him, it meant I was going to field a Stewart donut. So I couldn't actually go through with trying to get through to Dale. I think that actually worked out to our benefit, though, and that might sound like a weird thing considering how well Dale went. Dale went great. He has a crazy break even. If you got on him, you probably made an easy 100k like that. And maybe Dale over Dacos would have worked out a little bit better as well. It would have helped me maybe upgrade to Dacos this week. Dale make some good money and then maybe side with some of his buys. But I've got too much to worry about than worrying about bringing in premiums. I'm considering sidewarding later, I think. But in that play, I would have got rid of Williams. Williams obviously scored quite well. Probably would have ended up with Cadman's score on field if I got rid of Williams, or I'd maybe Lazaro's 33. I think I would have kept Lazaro, actually. So would have lost us a few points that way. So actually not a better outcome. I guess if I kept Stewart and just filled with a donut, it would have just been awful. But yeah, Libba being laid out, super painful there as well. I guess, sorry, I'll do this chronologically. I'll go from the top. So Ryan, 106, that's fine. He junked it up to get there. Dacos had a ripper last quarter to get to 128. Nick Martin also a ripper last quarter. I mean, when he kicks that goal at the end, I get such a weird feeling because I'm sitting there like, dude, that's so good for Supercoach points. But like, are we gonna lose this? like I'd prefer if he doesn't kick it if we're gonna lose this, but we get a draw and our percentage is pretty shot. So like, I think we're okay with that. I think we're okay with it, especially with Martin getting the Supercoach points at least. So, McGovern, 89. Now, this is something that's been a bit painful for us in the sense that I bought him McGovern, thought he was playing really well, thought we got him at a cheap price. But what's actually happened now with McGovern is I'm just going to quickly bring up his, 3-round average. So, his 3-round average is shot. 87 is insanely bad. Look, he's been on my team since the 113, so he's been in there for 4 weeks. But yeah, that 3-round average is hot garbage, and it's a reason that once again we're falling behind the pack. People have Sheasel here who's getting 110, on average, but 108 this week, an extra 20 points there. It's just not good. Max Holmes, 109. Hey, pretty good. As I mentioned, Max Holmes, priced at 82 when we got him. He's been very serviceable. And I've didn't mention this the other week, but I actually think he's been a bit unlucky. Everyone's unlucky when this happens, but I guess you're just more noticeable of it when it happens to your players. So a few weeks ago, when he did have kicks, he did long kicks down the line, and they ended up getting contested, intercepted, and you're like, okay, cool. That's a clanger. Someone couldn't just get a hand to that and stop it. There's a kick, which is 4 points, but instead of getting the 4 points, you got minus 4 points because someone, the opponent, took an intercept mark in a contested situation. It's guys, come on, just get a hand to that and let me get 8 extra points on Holmes. And that happened twice in the game. It's okay, that's 16 points down the drain because Geelong just let the opponent get a contested pack mark. That's very annoying. It did happen again this week where once again he's gone long to a pack, and Stanley and the rest of their tools, they just seem to stand back and let Mackay take it for free, and you're just come on boys, that's 8 points Holmes loses off a long, he's doing a long, what should be deemed an effective kick down the line, and you guys just let Mackay take it completely uncontested. Not completely, there's plenty of players around him, so it's a pack mark, but nobody put a hand up or got a hand on it. Come on, guys. It's a bit annoying. He also started the game in the first quarter, 5 kicks, 0% efficiency from that. And every kick, as I mentioned, 4 points per kick. When it's ineffective, it's 0. That's 20 points right there. Obviously, one of those ended up, I think, going to Mackay, so it ended up being a clanger. So 24 points he didn't get because it wasn't effective, and it's it was a clanger. It was just very frustrating that his first quarter he's sitting on 25 points because he's had some contested hand passes and a few tackles and a few marks, but in reality, sorry, bear with me a moment. And we're back, guys. So you're going to see I'm probably going to be a little bit down when I get back to this video. I am actually just chucking this in at the end of the video, just because yeah, I guess now that I've processed a bit more, my dad was actually the one that was calling as to why I did seem a little bit caught off guard there. He was actually calling to say his mum, so my grandma had passed away this morning. So obviously that's very sad. And looking back at it, I was pretty down once I get back to this video. So yeah, just sorry in advance for that. But we will have me waffle on for ages as well. I'm so sorry about that. I can't help it. I'm so confused and so lost as to what to do when I get to my trades that I just talk for ages. But I thought it'd be also a good time to, I guess, just quickly splash in. I do appreciate any of you that have liked or subscribe to my channel for your consistent injections of Supercoach content directly into your YouTube feed. But anyway, I will let me get back to it, and I will, yeah, I hope you enjoy. And I'm back, guys. Sorry, I was trying to think where I was. I was talking about Max Holmes. So yeah, he's like 25 points at quarter time, and then went to 85 by halftime. Like he had a 60-point second term, and that's just what he can do. Like his 25 points when he's had basically 24 points go down the drain. He could have been on a 50-point first quarter, and then 60-point second. He could have been pushing like 110 by halftime with a bit of better efficiency. Even if his efficiency, by foot wasn't 100%, but even if it was 40%, even if he'd hit 2 targets, extra 8 points would have been nice. But look, yeah, he ended up 85 points at halftime and then only 24 for the second half of the game, which was pretty disappointing in that sense. I thought he was really in for that big 130. Keep saying that I think he has the ability to do, and a real nice pod for us to have gone big, but didn't quite get there, so that was a little bit disappointing. But at the same time, I'm not going to be unhappy with the 109. If he was to proceed to pop out a 109 next 3 weeks in a row, that's like still a really good score that I should be really happy with. I think it's just a little bit unfortunate that when he's had such a big first half and he's got such a big score sitting there, to have a bit of a smaller game. And look, I mean, Stewart didn't play. Is that a factor? I mean, he got 2 kick-ins that he played in from. Saying that, one of the kick-ins was one of the ones that went to a pack and just got intercepted by, I'm pretty sure, Mackay. So, oh no, Pitnet might have actually gotten the second one. So, I don't know if that actually really mattered. It in fact just lost him points from the first one he took. And then he did get one CBA. He always gets one random CBS here or there, which is funny too. Stewart will be back next week. I don't think Stewart affects Holmes in a negative way, even if Holmes affects Stewart in a negative way. So, yeah, hopefully he can bounce back and have another good game. Playing against Melbourne. Melbourne giving up some good points to these wingers / outside players. Obviously, no, that was the other way around. It was Billings that scored big points on the Dogs, so that doesn't really matter. But hopefully he can come in for a good game. I mean, that'd be nice. Williams, I mean, he got up and played, so good outcome. He's got an 80 break even right now, which makes it feel like, hey, you could trade him. But that's because he got this 33 in the cycle. So next week, that 33 will be out of his cycle, and his break even will absolutely drop, assuming he can put out another like 80 like score. It will drop to like a 30 to 20-ish range, and then he'll start making money again and get up towards that 400k. So he definitely has the ability to get towards that 400k, I think. But at the same time, he's not going to make money this week, so he's 2 weeks away before he really starts that cash gen. So I wouldn't, like, if you did move on him, it's not the, like, it's fine. He has a lot of money on his head, and in upgrade season, sometimes you just got to look at money on their head. And when I look at players, like when I do click on my Supercoach Plus, out of all my rookies, I mean, he's the guy that sort of stands out the most with the highest break even. But as I mentioned, like, he's also got the more consistent, I think, scoring ability. So I would like to keep him. And I think he's still got money on his head to make. Jump down to the midfield, and I think this is once again where a lot of damage is done. Obviously, McGovern was really the weak point back here and was really the only one. But then we have like Butters, who was underperforming, Steele, who underperformed, and then Bont, who also underperformed with his 102. And this is unfortunate that you'll see that the VC's on Marshall, and I obviously talked about VCing Dawson last week. And I had it on Dawson basically all week, and then we saw Solo get named out and Marshall's going up against Sweet. So I'm like, well, I'm going to take the VC off Dawson, I'll put it on Marshall. And I still sat there and I went, man, I got so much confidence in Dawson to go 130 plus. You guys know I said 130 plus last week. He didn't quite get there, but I had so much confidence. I'm like, I want to put the C on him, and I'm like, nah, that's just too risky. Maybe I don't know, I feel more confident in Bont to get a more consistent score. and ended up losing 25 points there. So not only did Marshall absolutely tank our score, which sucked ass, he then also baited me off the Dawson VC, which is something I would have probably taken, and another 25 points down the toilet that way, which really sucks. But Bont, underwhelming. Butters, underwhelming. Steele, underwhelming, and just not good. Bont started off strong and then just did not finish strong. Libba ends up being a late out, so we end up another premium down. Yeah, just really painful. Steele back-to-back weeks, not great. Everyone's talking about him being heavily strapped and a bit concerned on him. 4 weeks for us, he's been really good. 2 140s and then more like the 80 last week and the 70. So even if you average that out, he's still probably been like a 115-ish for us, which, once again, at the price we got him for is a steal. It's really good. And I think what's happened so far this season is anytime I've traded a premium, it's just been a disaster. It's actually just been a disaster. Nick Martin down the Tom Powell. That's probably the closest thing to not being a disaster, because Tom Powell was 100k. He earned 100k at least. But Nick Martin ended up being a keeper that I had to use a boost to get back in 2 weeks later. Or I could have held the boost 2 weeks beforehand, kept Nick Martin, and then I would have had an extra boost up my sleeve for upgrades later on. So definitely a terrible play by me there. Hayden Young to Luke Ryan's actually maybe a bit of a win there, because Hayden Young was pretty speculative and he's still been a bit iffy. But then obviously Grundy the Marshall's also another really painful one where we've just sideways and it was awful. So, Stewart to Dacos this week was actually fine too. So, it's sometimes hard to pick and choose, but I kind of want to hold faith in Steele. He does have North this week, so there is an ability for a good game. I'm pretty sure when he played them in the practice game, he had a pretty decent game on them. So, just hope that against a weaker opponent, he does do pretty decent. But I think Steele and Marshall are a bit of a combo package here. They've both been awful the last 2 weeks. I've obviously had Marshall the last 2 weeks. He's lost me a lot of points. But then in Marshall's defense, it's like he's up against... It doesn't matter who he's up against because his midfield sucks that he just can't get hitouts to advantage. And in both these games, Marshall's usually got averages like 15 hitouts. Against English last week, he got 25, so I actually increased that by 10 points. Yes, his around the ground work wasn't as good. He didn't clunk his marks and whatnot. But usually elevated hitouts for these ruckmen that are better around the ground, that's usually where they get their biggest scores from, because they can do the stuff they're doing around the ground, but then they get the bonus points off these hitouts to advantage. Ended up with an extra 10-ish last week. Didn't relate to a better score. He ended up with 36 this week. Extra 20 points on the normal hitouts he would get. And it's also come through for a terrible score. Now, I understand he took a bit of a knock in this game, so he couldn't really do his around the ground work. But yeah, unfortunately, this is one of the games I missed, so I just didn't see... I missed basically the Friday night games and the 2 early Saturday games. I saw the Saturday night game, which was obviously Geelong and Carlton, but yeah, this is a game I missed, and from what I'm hearing is he took a knock and he was struggling to do his normal around the ground stuff. So even though he got like 20 more hitouts, it just didn't convert to a score, which really, really sucked. And look, I think the right logic there to put the VC on him going into Sweet, who's not a normal number one ruckman. But this kind of reminds me of the Gawn versus Grundy situation in round 1, where Gawn takes a knock. He basically can't do his around the ground stuff, and then Grundy looks sensational because he's basically not playing against another ruckman. That's probably the case with Sweet here. Looked like he probably had a good game, scored really well Supercoach wise, because the other ruckman couldn't really go around the ground. So, look, that's probably what's happened here. Tell me if I'm wrong. As I said, I didn't see this game. But either way, Sweet's now got an insane break even and needs to be brought in. But yeah, I'm really hoping for a bounce back this week. A bit of a weaker midfield in North, so hopefully if English can get up and be okay. Yes, Cherry's a pretty good ruck actually, but it doesn't really matter about that. That's not English. That's not Marshall's strength. Hopefully he can get back to doing around the ground stuff against a weaker team, and then that means that maybe Steele can do a bit better, and then that means that if his midfield's doing a little bit better against a weaker opponent, then maybe he can actually get some points out of these hitouts. But yeah, Dawson obviously an awesome score. Really happy with that. The 127, a little bit under, as I said, I thought he was going 130 plus, but most people are going to be desperate to get him in this week. So we're at least ahead of the curve there. We don't have to worry about that, and we can focus elsewhere. Crouch 85, also a little bit of a worry. I think his 3-round average is also a little bit tanked at the moment. 3-round 91. Considering he was priced at 87 at the start of this season, He was performing at a very good level for that. Even the 105 still good for that, but he did have like 73% CBAs as well, so he definitely had the CBAs, but he just didn't have the score for it. I don't know if that's because maybe the opponent was weak, but I mean, it's a 3 round average. He's been not good for the last 3 and even missed out last week because of the suspension, so the 1 week off didn't really help him. Yeah, not too sure about Crouch here. He's also a bit of an iffy one. If I check out his break even real quick, 122. He's always someone I planned on flipping at his buy. Could we flip him earlier? We probably could, but he's basically back down to his starting price. Sorry, if I did just click on him again, what was his starting price at? Yeah, he's only made 30k. I think at this stage I'll probably just keep holding tight, worried about upgrades. But if he has another poor game this week, that could struggle. I do think maybe he's a player though that plays better against better opponents. Maybe. As I said, the last few games weren't actually weak opponents, so it didn't really matter. So yeah, Crouch has also been hurting us. Someone that started off really hot and it was a really good start, but yeah, not doing it at the moment. As mentioned, Libba missed out last second, unfortunately. Roberts did decent, Closely did decent, Graham did decent. The only positive of Liver missing out last second is I would have actually played Graham. I wasn't playing Graham, so it meant that it forced Graham on the field for me, and 87 extra points that I wouldn't have gotten. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, say Liver even came out and he got an 87 himself, like, this doesn't really matter this much. Graham got a pretty good score to cover him, so that's at least okay. Still sucks being down at premium when people have like Sarong going like 140, Green going 160. So pretty painful that way. English bounced back though, good week. Sorry, I've been rambling a bit long. Let's just go through the key points. Heaney was back good. Darcy's back good. We're going to be holding him now because he's restarted his cash gen. Combin, another poor game. So this is really, really disappointing from him. Saying that he's going into the Saints this week, so we will hold him to see if he can maybe spike a big one there and restart that cash gen. Wilson, good game. Restarted that cash gen. And Garcia, a bit of a down game, unfortunately. Hopefully he can hold his spot in the team because we just need him to be making money. If he ends up another dead rook, that's gonna bloody hurt. And Pal, a huge talking point for do we trade out of? Probably. I mean, look, I've just got the CBAs up here on the side. DFS Australia, and Pal had 14% CBAs. 14. That is god awful. I mean, the reason we got on Pal was because, game 1, 76, game 2, 93, game 3, 89, game 4, 77, 79, 77. It's because he had this CBA roll. All of a sudden 14% and he's stuck as a forward rookie. Sorry, pressure forward. Like, that's god awful. And I understand Simkin had elevated CBAs in this game. Wardlaw was back. They gave a few to Sheasel as well, 14. I mean, Paul Curtis took 26 as well. Yeah, they just took all of Tom Powell's CBAs and gave them out everywhere. So I'm a little bit scared that Powell he's dead now. That was the whole point. We were getting a midfielder that was cheap as a forward. And look, the good news is he made 100k, so that's not the worst thing in the world. Still doesn't feel great, though. Still doesn't feel great, especially considering that week, obviously, I was considering Sexton the Dempsey, but such is life. Even holding the boost would have been probably better. But yeah, he might need to be traded. And look, it might be a bit of an overreaction because it's 1 week starter where he's gone from elite CBAs to 1 week of 14% CBAs. The question is this a reoccurring trend? Is this going to be the same trend going forward? Because if this is going forward, we can't pick Pal. Like, we have to get rid of Pal. But if we hear anything about Pal going back to his normal CBAs, then maybe we can get away with holding him. The problem is, though, there's not many rookies I really want to be moving on as well. So if we just once again jump to our Supercoach Plus, it's like not going to be moving on Roberts, Closey, Graham. We're not going to move on Reed. We're not going to be moving on like Clark or any of these dead rookies. Cadman's 52, so he probably could go, but we're not going to move on Garcia, Wilson. We're not going to move on Darcy, who just reset his. And then Combin maybe could go as well. That is a question mark there. And then Powell's got a crazy break even, so it's like Powell or Williams, who's going to go? But I think Williams can make more money, and I think Powell that ends up kind of just bad from here. I guess talking about a North front as well is obviously McKercher came back this week with a 102, which is insane. And it really sucks because I was really hoping McKercher would drop a 50, drop like another 30k, get down to his starting price, and then we can maybe downgrade to like McKercher like in a few weeks. But with that 102, you basically have to go on him now, and he's 250k, so you're kind of paying up for him rather than going down to like a Sweet who's 100k cheaper, or even like a Garcia who's like 25, 30k cheaper than that. So it's unfortunate if you did want to get back on McKercher, but for those that held, you're going to feel really good. And something crazy about McKercher, I don't know if you guys have looked at the kick-in breakdown for North, but obviously, I guess Sheasel was a little bit more on the ball, but he had 3 kick-ins played on 3 times. Fisher came on as a sub, and without Fisher in the game, he had 3 kick-ins played on 3 times. Where did those other kick-ins go? McKercher had 12 kick-ins. That is insane. Played on 11 times. That's actually mental. Like, that's crazy. That's going to build such a floor for you. Assuming they're long, effective kicks, that's like 44 points like that. That's more than Garcia. And that's just from kicking, so that's 3 points. Like, jeez. I mean, if Fisher's out of this team, though, could McKercher actually be that rookie that we thought he was going to be at the start of the season? Does he end up being, to a degree, a must-have trade-in? Maybe, but for those that held fat on him, you're going to feel pretty good about that. You're going to feel very, very good about that. Yeah, that's just nuts that's even a thing. I can't believe that. And something that has to be considered now. But yeah, we'll look at building the team for this week. Now, we're going to expect Oliba to be back. Please be back, Oliba. That's really going to hurt if you're not. Where did that sub button go? Come on. Oliba. Here we go. We'll just move him on for Graham for now. Okay, computer's cooking. Sorry, wrong person. Reed down for Garcia. And that instantly kind of looks better for playing players on field. We could loop Garcia with the help of Clark, rather than running a Graham or a Closey, but they're both pretty good rookies, so I don't mind moving those guys. Now something to consider for my trades is obviously Marshall is losing so much cash, but I'm just going to hold him. I'm going to hold these premiums, as I said. I'm just going to stick fat and hope he comes back. Now, the forward rookies are kind of the weaker rookie bunch. So those ones are nicer to move on, but the forward premiums are the weaker premiums, so you're not getting as much value, as much point scoring from them either. Now, players that... Now, I'm going to jump to players for a second. I guess I'll do a little bit of an off-tangent rant, but I'll be honest, like, the boys kind of looked at my team, like our boy Scobie and Josh. They looked at my team and they're like, dude, your team's not even that bad. I understand why, like, you're getting wrecked so hard. And it's like, it's not bad. It's got the correct setup. It's got premiums in it. But I've anti-potted some big boys. Like, honestly, anti-potting Max Gorn, that's, as I mentioned already, it's season ending. Okay, we're just going to wait. It's literally season ending. Like, that's crazy how bad that's been. Like, what a miss that's been. I mean, other players with decently high ownership, Raul and Sarong, I've been anti-potting them the whole time, even on their 3 rounds, because they've been picked up a little bit more recently and upgraded into. But still, their 3 rounds are still insane. So that's been a bit painful. Obviously, I'm anti-potting Sheasel. That's very painful. Anti-potting Green, whose 3 round actually isn't that bad in reality, and someone I wanted to upgrade into, and I thought it was going pretty well until he dropped this 160. But that's been a little bit sad. The Took Miller, that's also really hurt. That's decently well owned. Yo, pretty well owned as well. Yeah, honestly, it's just, if you look at the top end, I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of these greens covered, and I've got like 3 in the top 10, which it's just not enough. It's just not enough for these top tier premiums. And then a lot of my premiums drop quite far down. It's not good enough. And then on top of that, the pods I'm picking, as I mentioned, McGovern 87 for a 3 round. That's been killer. We have Marshall's 2 round, which has been killer. Like, yeah, no, it's just the premiums I've picked just didn't quite work out. The premiums I brought in have underperformed. I feel a lot of them, and then a lot of the premiums I've anti-potted, which were highly owned, have absolutely popped off. So, yeah, it just kind of got wrecked this year. But saying that, I still think I could make one big rank jump, and that might sound like a weird thing to say. Like, what do you mean by one big rank jump? I just mean, like, if players get their shit together for like 1 week, like say just for some reason Gorn comes out with finally a sub-ton game, like crazy, so good. And then we have all these other highly owned premiums we talked about. Like maybe Yo also doesn't step up for a game. We've always seen Green have a few down games. Like we see these players have a few down games, these highly owned players, even just a few of them. And then maybe some of these lowly owned, pod players I have, if they could come out with some big games, maybe I could flip it on its head and get a bit of a rank jump that week. So I kind of just need to pray for that at this stage. Obviously, I don't have Flanders either. That's another massive one that people have. And someone that I was hot on in preseason, and then he dropped that 60 in the preseason game, and I just thought I'd play it safe, and then worry about him after his bye, and it just never really happened. And now he's at a point where it's like his break even's 116. He keeps getting very close to that break even. He's not really changing in his price. He's still like the best performing forward outside of Heaney, but his price just isn't really changing, so it's not really a rush to get him in. Saying that, if he's forcing someone like a Powell off field or a Combin off field or one of these iffy rookies off field and you're getting 50 to 60 points on it, then it's probably a lot more valuable than forcing maybe a closely off field for a Bont, something like that. Like, it's just better. I also did start a lot of top end premiums. Like we started Bont, started English. They've all just lost money and it just didn't work out. And honestly, if you look at the top, Dacos was the top end defender. Like any of the top end guys, I think outside of the forward line, because top end guys, the only guys we were really considering was Flanders, Heaney, like guys that were already valued. We weren't looking at McRae to start. Nobody was because he wasn't getting named. Maybe Jackson, but even then he made a lot of money. So if you cashed out at the right time, it still worked out. But in regards to like defense, midfield, and ruck line, like if you started the top end guys, you just got wrecked. Like they lost so much money and people are getting them in so much cheaper, and they could have done probably a lot more with their teams. Better rookies they set up for either, or an extra premium. So yeah, enough rambling. Let's just jump into these trades. You guys are probably already sick of it already. Like, Vern, come on, we get it. Move on. Yep. Who I actually want to trade out is Cadman. As I said, I think Williams going to reset, so he's fine. I think Combin has a good matchup, and his role is probably better than Cadman's at the end of the day. Rather than playing key forward, he's playing, kind of key position back, but the ball does live down there for North, so I think has maybe a bit more opportunity. So I think I'll hold on to Cobbin a little bit longer, even though the break-evens are pretty similar between the two. So we need to go Cadman out, but then the trade out, I think it has to be Powell. But then this ends up really, really, really unfortunate money-wise. So what we would do is we would naturally flip Livingston down, obviously. That's clearly the play. Then we're going to look at points from this week, and you just have to pick up Sweets. He's going to be such a cash grab. You just need him. The problem is that leaves 564k, and it's not enough for Flanders by about 12k, which hurts. Even if I was to flip Garcia down, it's not enough for Green, which hurts. It's enough for Laird, but I'm not going there. It's not enough for Sarong. It's just not enough for these guys I want. And I think Green is probably top tier pick because he does have this 91 break even, but he is against Sydney, who are a pretty good team. So I think there's a chance he could maybe struggle on Sydney, but his history says that he does really well against them previously. So he might just pop off. So I was kind of thinking of getting him in, but it's just not enough money. The other one I was considering is Sarong, who's kind of in the same boat. So Green at a 91, he has a 98 break even. So both these guys with good break evens, they're probably going to not be, like, this is probably going to be their bottom price for a little while. But he's also into Richmond, which is pretty nuts. Like, that's pretty good. But then after that, it actually kind of dries up a bit. Collingwood's been giving up points. Sydney next week, though, is interesting. But it is at Optus. Yeah, I'd be really happy going for either of these players right now, Sarong or Green. But as I said, I'm 10k short. Like, it just isn't happening, which is very upsetty spaghetti. And I'm just not sure where to go here. We look at some averages. For those that jumped on Walsh, you got a 104, you got your 32k. Congrats if that's what you wanted. Me personally, how much money did Dawson make? Made 24k, so he made a little bit less money, but he scored more points this round, and I'm pretty sure he has a better break even this round at 24, where Walsh is 166 cycled out, and he's probably like a 114 break even. So Wasn't actually really a big deal if he got on Walsh or not. He's kind of just plateaued. He's owned by quite a large amount of the comp. So I think Dawson was definitely the better pick, and I definitely made the right call there at least. But yeah, any of these top end players, I just can't afford them, which really sucks. Outside of I guess Laird, but I'm just not going there with Laird. Petrarca's coming down in price. Can't even afford Goulden. Can't even afford Brayshaw if I wanted him. So it pushes me into two positions here. We hold Cadman, or I need to trade somebody that's more expensive. Unfortunately, Comben doesn't get me to green. So it has to be a Sam Darcy or a Zach Williams, and I don't really want to trade either of them, which really, really hurts. The other thing is skipping on Sweet. That might sound like an awful play, especially because he will cover for the buys as well, which would be really sick. But it's skipping Sweet, going down to like a Garcia. But my understanding for the Dogs Garcia is he was going to be the sub until Libba was laid out, so that doesn't fill me with confidence bringing him in. Anyone else that went on McRae as well, that's another one to talk about. He was low and people went on him and he got like a 79, and you're going to feel pretty terrible about that score, so it's a good thing we didn't go there. The other thing I talked about with Dale is, once again, Richards played nothing but mid. He ended up playing Libba's role, and he played 92% CBAs. So yes, Dale comes out for another 130, and if you got on him, great, because you probably just made an insane cash grab. But if you're going to get on him expecting him to be a keeper, I don't know if he is. I think the defender quality, 105 is a minimum you need to be. But the way they're pushing is it does feel like it's closer to maybe that 107, 108 is almost a minimum. Dale feels like he could be between that 100 to 105 at a best case. So best case scenario, you may be paying for a D10, saying that you're getting a D10 at a very, very cheap price. But obviously that's me talking about it without knowing what happens when Richards go back. And I think when Richards goes back, Dale ends up maybe between this 85 to 105 average, maybe ends up like a 95 to 100 average. If you're getting him and you want him as a keeper, 95 to 100 average just isn't good enough. I think that if you're bringing him in, you're kind of bringing him in for a bit of a cash grab, and then you need to flip Matty's buy. But by his buy, he might have lost that money, so if you didn't really get on him last week, I actually don't think you get on him this week. I think it ends up being one of those... it's hard to say. Like, you're kind of points chasing, but you're also money chasing, because if he gets a 90, he goes up like 65k. So you make 65k like instantly, but then that 170's out of his cycle, but the 130's probably there. So he probably ends up with like 295s, maybe making 80 to 85k. So it makes good money. But then are you going to use another trade later on to side with him? Maybe. Maybe you are. Because I guess that's the other thing I can look at, is I can always flip Holmes down into the midfield here. And if we look at players, I can bring Dale in. I can bring him in. And he does have pretty decent matchups in the sense that he has Hawthorn and Richmond. But saying that, if the ball lives in the Bulldogs' front half, it might not be a good matchup. Yeah, I don't know if Dale's a good play. I really think that you had to go Dale last week, and I really wanted to go Dale last week. This week doesn't really feel as good. God damn. I mean, here's the projecteds for you. So 95 and a 105, and he will go up 75k. So I was overshooting how much he's going to go up. Even with a 91, he's still going to have a 75 break even. So unless you're ready to get rid of him by around 10... I mean, there's a chance he just plateaus on his price. He just plateaus around this 520 to 530 mark. So you get, as I mentioned, maybe 70-ish K out of him. And then you sideways him at his buy. That could definitely be an option. And it at least means I get a 1-up, 1-down this week while getting the best rookie. Oh, man. I really want a green... Or I really wanted... what's his face? So wrong. Look, as I said, if I went Dale last week, this is a very different story, because I'm probably just bringing in Dacos this week. Like, that's as simple as it's going to be. And for us non-Dacos owners, this is basically, like, for the guys that were non-Dacos owners, last week was obviously a great week to get on him, but now he's almost a must-get at this point with his 78 break-even. He's got this 130, 128. If he comes out with another decent score here... I mean, this is assuming he gets 93. He's going to start plateauing in price. But if he can continue to put out these 120 pluses, He's just going to keep rising in cash, and you're not going to get him any cheaper than this. So it feels like this is sort of the week you got to get him, except that we got a 60k discount and we didn't miss all those points that the others did because they also had that buy round. So it's a good round to get him. I guess the only thing, as I said, if I got Dale last week, I think Dacos would have just come in this week and it would have been simple. But, yeah. This is something I really need to ponder. There's just all the thoughts going through my head. I mean, as I said, I'm not really a fan of going Dale. I'm really not a fan of it. I already have too many speculative picks in the side of McGovern, Holmes. I already have these guys that are kind of sitting at my D7, M9. Because that's the other talking point. If you're able to use him as a bit of a loop with someone like a Holmes, or even with a Dacos, you can flip Dacos up and down, I guess. Just players that have that loop and you can use them as a D7 loop. Like, that's fine, but I kind of already have a guy for that slot, which is Holmes. And even at the way McGovern's going, even him too. So I can't really afford to bring in like a third speculative defensive player. Unless later on I'm willing to just sideways a ton. And right now I'm going to have 22 trades left. How many trades do I need to do? 1, 2, and then basically 5 in the forward line. So that's like 7 upgrades, even 1 up, 1 down. It leaves 8 left. I mean, what, am I happy doing 6 sideways? I mean, we're going to go crouch sideways. That was always a plan. McGovern might end up as a sideways. Dale ends up as a sideways. I guess there's room to make these sideways trades. But that's assuming they're all 1 up, 1 down, but that might not be the case. Sorry, I've definitely rambled on for way too long. I just need to lock this in if it's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to go past it as a possibility. We'll leave that as a possibility. I think the other possibility... shoot, I need to flip. Wait, why can't Cadman just go back to that spot, bro? Come on. Okay, I don't know. Whatever. It was cooking, but we got it. So I think that's a very obvious one. Then we just have to make an upgrade elsewhere. And as I mentioned, we can go earlier on Williams. We can do it. We can go earlier on him. Flip like a Graham up. And unfortunately, we're 10k short of Sarong, who I kind of did want. But as I mentioned, the other one we can go is just Tom Green. So I guess they're the two situations I've got to ponder. Williams, who I think will be a decent on-field scorer for us and someone I'd be happy to keep to be scoring on-field. I mean, I'd much rather trade Cadman over Williams, but I feel much better bringing Green over Dale. Okay, let's just leave it at this for now. I don't think there's any like must-have rookies outside of this as well. And then we'll just bench Closey. We'll bench Roberts and use the loop with him. Why not? Because we have it. And then we can just field Clark for Closey if this is good, or Graham, whoever we want. Cadman can also end up with the loop. Oh no, he basically has to play with Livingston down here. We have a dead bench, so he basically has to play. Obviously, we're not going to be fielding Sweet over English. So yeah, I guess I'm just going to quickly look at players. I'm going to look at break-evens real quick. I'm sorry this video's been going for so damn long. 32 minutes, let alone the 9 minutes to start with. Sorry, I've rambled a lot in this video. So sorry about that, guys. We all just know that's how I'm built, especially in this situation where I'm just in a bad position and I'm still just trying to work it out mentally. Like, what can I really, really do? Break-even game. So we've already brought Sweden. Garcia is obviously the next one that's obvious. I mean, Dale's actually really up there, but it's only like a 1 week break-even grab, where like the rest of these guys, because they're rookies, they're going to be good for making money for a while. Liafu, I mean, congrats to anyone that got on him. He came out with like an 84 or some shit, I feel like. Might have came out with a 63, actually. Still good enough. You'd be happy with that. Jace Burgoyne, really unfortunate. We all know I wanted to start Jace Burgoyne, but there was actually never technically a point you could get on him because he didn't play round 1. Then he was like the sub the next 3 weeks. Then he finally made his way into the team. We can look at the round scores. But yeah, so he didn't play round 1. Round 2, I don't know if this was sub or not, but then he was sub in round 3, sub in round 4, and then you're never bringing him in for this round 5, and he gets a 93, and you probably look there and go, yeah, that's cool, but he's a sub risk, so we're not going to risk it. Then he gets this 88, and at that point it's kind of too late. You're like, okay, now he's 250k, we're not paying 250k for Jace Burgoyne, and then comes out the 117. Like, it's so unfortunate that we really wanted to start this man, and he just couldn't, and when he gets into the team, it's such an awkward point, and he's done it on the back of these sub games, and he was untradeable. Like, you actually couldn't get him in at any point in time. It just never made sense. So yeah, crazy, super unlucky for all of us, because he would have been very nice to have for a bit of, making money. Where the hell is... Oh, he's got a 7 break even. So we have McAuliffe, who might come back with these injuries. But it doesn't make me feel good that in this situation he still couldn't get back. I think he's just too much on the cusp rookie. He's too risky. He just may not be in the team. Garcia, as I mentioned, he was meant to be the sub if Libba was in, so you can't really go there. Naismith, I mean, it's Naismith or Sweet. You just choose one or the other, and you obviously choose Sweet. You obviously pay that little bit extra. But if I don't pay that little bit extra, then cool. But at the same time, Nank's not injured or anything, where we know Soldo's injured, so we know we got Sweet for a few good weeks. Yeah, it just ended up really awkward. Lea's only there because Buckley's out injured, Taylor's out injured, one of them's out injured, I don't know. But once they're back, he's going to be cut from the team, which is unfortunate. He looks like he could have been a good rookie for us too. I guess the only reason I'm even looking at these other guys is if I have to boost to make another downgrade, because the rookie crops, they're just must-haves. The other thing would be maybe if I went someone over Sweet, the extra 30k would mean that I could hold Williams and get rid of Cadman, which would make me feel a little bit better. But there's just nothing. Like, none of these guys below this point are reliable. Any of these guys that are cheaper than Sweet. Darcy Jones is going to be someone that we look at for next week. If he can hold his position, saying that we obviously have Green to come back into the team, might just kick him straight out. We have a few people that could just kick him straight out. Turner did really well as well. I think he played behind the... No, he kicked some goals, actually. He played in front of the ball. So not a good roll. It's a bad roll. Elevated price. Yeah, the 101's nice, but it's his first game, so it's going to be out of his cycle like that. So not someone I think you're going to go. Cooper Simpson played, actually had a decent game. Yeah, that's nice. We always like that. Voss also played, but once again, a shitty role, so you don't want to be picking that up. Cooper Simpson was actually the sub, I'm pretty sure, and they only got on because Draper went out injured very early. So once again, not someone you're going to pick either. So it's just, yeah, this rookie crop is just bad. It's just not good, which sucks. We can't go, like, the only one you can feel comfortable going on is Sweet right now. And as I mentioned, Sweet just doesn't really work unless I'm willing to get rid of Williams. And I would have liked Williams into Pies because I feel like we give up points to defenders. So I think that could have been a good matchup for him. And I don't like Cadman into Swans. I don't think that's a good matchup for him. So that's really, really annoying. Dogs, though, I do think that Dale could have a decent matchup into Hawthorn. But Richards probably goes back, instantly affects him, and then he starts dropping these 90 scores. And 90 is really not that much better than, like, Williams' current scoring. It's a lot better than Cadman, though, so I guess let's look at that logically as well. So if Cadman goes to Dale, we're maybe increasing this 50 to 60 to like that 90, 95, so 40 to 35 point increase on our team. Not really much, but it is something. Where if we're going Williams to Green, Williams is a 70 to 80 guy. Green could be that 115 to 120 guy. So in that case, worst case scenario, we're looking at 35 points. Best case scenario, maybe 45. So it's about the same points. Fuck. Why do I have to work it out like that? That's like the same points difference. Difference is I'm getting a keeper instead of someone I need a sideways later on. Difference is I'm getting rid of a rookie that's going to continue making score as well as good on field scoring, or a rookie that's going to be very questionable. Cash gen going to be very dead from this point onwards and needs to go soon. Okay, sorry guys, I need to just cut this video. I clearly don't know the decision. I'll have to figure it out. It's a very hard one. I might even ask the boys from Swordplay. I love asking DR and Spills and all them, the good shit. I just like throwing questions out to them. Um, it's just nice to listen to. So I'll definitely get it past Scobie and Josh in tomorrow. I'll probably try and run this past them myself and be like, what do you guys like more? Because at the end of the day, those two are killing it, and I'm kind of being a potato, so they'll probably be able to give me the advice I need. All right, let's cut it there. I've waffled for way too long. I'm so sorry, and I do apologize. I do appreciate all those that stay to the end of the videos. If you have liked and subscribed for your consistent injection of Supercoach content directly into your YouTube feed. But till next time, guys, peace later.